Hey, this is Sam Black with my fourth match with Craig Wesco's Naya token deck. I'm on the play here, and I have 2 green, Courser. I think on the play this hand is fast enough. I generally keep hands whose first play is Courser when I'm on the play, and it's more questionable on the draw. If I had a Scry land so that I could look for a turn 2 play, I would keep it, but I might have to mulligan this on the draw. It's a borderline hand as is, since the dictate's not great here, but I think it's worth sticking with. Alright, playing against blue-black control again. I'm not going to want to draw a forest, so I'll just break this now. There's an argument for playing a different land here, so that if I draw a forest I can hold this to crack, but the situation with not having a lot of basics to fetch makes me want to use my fetch lands on them as soon as possible. Like, if I drew a forest, it would mess up my other fetches, having this in my hand still. Also, against control of the life gain, well, I guess the card filtering is the more important part here, which could come up either way. It's possible that it's actually better to hold this. Most of these concerns go away once the third forest is in this deck. I'm gonna play Battlefield Forge over Mountain here because I'm trying to get to double white. Playing Courser on turn 3 against blue-black is really good because they can't disdainful stroke it and they can't pile blight it, so they just have to deal with it on their next turn, which just makes it easy to get ahead of their mana. Ashiok with a guaranteed Wingmate Rock hit. I could play Temple of Plenty and scry this to the bottom. If I play this, I can get my last mountain, assuming it didn't get exiled. Yeah, I can get my last mountain. Then my Wooded Foothills are off, but one got exiled, so there's only one left in my deck after this. It would mean that I'd have to play the Battlefield Forge next turn to hit double white. But I think that's worth it. Just get my guaranteed value now and be able to functionally scry after Ashiok's activation with the shuffle. And now I'm going to try to contain Ashiok a bit. Certainly don't want my opponent to have the option to just put a Wingmate Rock into play. I think I do want to draw Elspeth, so I will not shuffle. And I'm not really desperately trying to get to play a land off the top of my deck because it would have to be an untapped white, so I'll just play this and hold the fetch to scry off Ashiok later. And I don't really want to run something into a counterspell here. I'm just going to attack Ashiok and let my opponent act, and then play Dictate at the end of my opponent's turn, and then go from there. Presumably that'll let me force through Elspeth or Wingmate Rock. Wouldn't hate to draw the Wingmate Rock, but it's important to me to play the Dictate on the end of my opponent's turn here. no real reason to respond to these things with this, but it's just where we happen to be. I'm only going to send one at Ashiok. That allows my opponent to save Ashiok with a removal spell, but then my opponent will be tapped out and I can play Elspeth. So it saves Ashiok while leaving Disdainful Stroke up. I'm just going to run Elspeth into Disdainful Stroke since I'm drawing another Elspeth. I could play Wingmate Rock, but it exposes to Crux of Fate. Remembering Ashiok should probably hold Elspeth. I guess it's not that bad if I do get Crux of Fated here because I can resolve Elspeth with Dictate in play. So using the Wingmate as the test spell is fine. Yeah, there's a Disdainful Stroke, that's fine. I could scry Elspeth to the bottom to keep it in my deck, but I think it's better to just have one instance of Ashiok not hitting a creature. Well, maybe I don't care. No, that's wrong. I don't care about Ashiok hitting creatures. I don't think Ashiok's going to get to the point where it can do that, so I'll just put this back in my deck for when I shuffle. I think I just attack the same way I did last turn. Cut. Save Ashiok. I think I probably just don't play a spell here. Because I don't really want to get Elspeth countered and my opponent's not threatening to do anything with the mana if I pass. And I can play Rabble Master next turn. Well, maybe I just play Rabble Master now. It's mostly fun. The advantage to keeping Rabble Master around is that I can play it and, well, I'm not necessarily drawing Courser, but I can play it and another threat next turn. I think it's very close here. Also extends into Wraths. Yeah, I'm just going to play Temple and put the Courser on the bottom. Fault is interesting. I think Rabble Master will force a Perilous Vault activation, and I think given that I don't care about Elspeth, not Elspeth, Ashiok. Ashiok is the thing that I think I don't care about. course, I'm going to scribe this to the bottom because of fear of Ashiok. Although, no, I'm actually going to put this on top because I do want Ashiok to have to plus rather than to minus to try to hold off my pressure. Now that Ashiok's up to 6, that could be a concern. So if I draw Rebel Master, then I think the extra Hasted Goblin makes things problematic for my opponent. Alright, and so now we've engineered a spot where my opponent has to Perilous Vault, tapping out, and I can play Elspeth. Losing the Dictate makes this a little worse, but my opponent only has 7 life, so it's still a reasonably fast clock. Interesting. Guess I like playing. Yeah, I think I like playing the Rebel Master. I'm definitely not satisfied with just 3 soldiers as my clock here. This demands a Wrath, or a Drown in Sorrow if my opponent has it main deck. Not the greatest threat on an empty board, but does demand an answer, and I don't think it matters at all if I play this Garroted or not. Alright, well, things are certainly starting to slip away, but could still just sneak a Mastery into play, or just have my opponent happen to not have an answer to something or other. Yeah, I'll keep a threat. I assume a dig is going to happen. Yep. No, Ingenuity instead, or Ingenuity into dig. Nope, just Ingenuity. It's probably smart. If my opponent had tapped out for dig there, if I had Stoke the Flames, I would win on the spot. Alright. Well, this will get a minus something out of Ugin. Either -0 and a removal spell, or -6. If I had drawn Mastery the turn that my opponent played Ugin, might have won the game. as is, it's pretty unlikely. Both of my planes are gone. This does not actually make mana, so I'll just leave it in play in case I draw a Courser. This also doesn't make mana. At this point, I can't possibly win. My opponent has too many cards, and Ugin is like, if I draw Mastery, I won't be able to usefully outrace anything with it. Alright, sure. We'll see what it looks like if I try it. Okay, that will be good enough. Alright, so we know that my opponent has Perilous Vault, and we know that Miscutter's Hydra is great, and I like Valorous Stance to counter removal spells. Sarkhan is a hasty threat. I don't like Dictate, and I don't like Wingmate Rock, and I don't like Lightning Strike, and I have to play one of those things, and it's close between Dictate and Wingmate. Wingmate is kind of a threat on its own, whereas Dictate, I can use the instant speed to pressure counter spells. I'll go with Dictate. I think it is less likely to matter, but more likely to trick my opponent into thinking it matters to let me resolve something. Yeah, keep this hand. It's not great, but I have plenty of mana if I draw Mastery and a fast Sarkhan that the Sarkhan can come down on turn 3, which is before it can get dissolved. So there are some hands where it'll be good. I expect it to either get Disdainful Stroked or Hero's Downfall, but I like having a chance to do something sweet. Oh, well, that is great. This is much better than playing Sarkhan on turn 3. My opponent doesn't have a Bile Blight. Put this on top. Cast Caryatid, because the card that I'm afraid of is Drown in Sorrow, which doesn't interact with Caryatid, and so I want the mana in play. Attack for 1,000,000, and now my opponent has to drown or kill Rebel Master, and then Sarkhan comes in. Alright, my opponent is still obligated to deal with Rebel Master, so sure. don't think there's any reason to play an Elvish Mystic instead of attacking with the one that I have. Alright, turn 2 Rebel Master on the play is very good. This hand is also threatening a turn 2 Rebel Master with Valorous Stance if the removal happens to line up, so that does something useful, so easy keep. Alright, no Bioblade. Now, if my opponent doesn't immediately kill my Rebel Master and I get to untap and have Valor Stance up, I'll be feeling pretty good. Yep, I am feeling pretty good. Just attack with everyone. Well, could leave this back and play Caryatid with Valor Stance up. I guess that's better than doing 1 damage. I think it's better to hold this than to play the second Caryatid. That could be wrong, but that's the way I'm going to play it here. Kind of have regrets. Well, there's no way my opponent's like slow rolling a Drown. I guess I'm glad I didn't put another Caryatid in play, because I certainly wouldn't want to play Elspeth. Let land and attack with everything. And this is another spot where my opponent's going to have to tap out to activate Perilous Vault. And then I'll be able to resolve Elspeth with my opponent at an extremely low life total. Oh, a tapped land. I don't really understand what's happening with that Perilous. Okay, alright. Yes, demonstrating that the hand cannot do anything.